watch us today, but to listen to us. But I'm very happy to be here. As I was telling Bob, I'm from a little bit farther to the north, a place called Pottsville, Pennsylvania. I reside 1 mile to the north of the Yuengling Brewery. So I've sampled the product many times, and they're great sponsors, they're great people, a tremendous family, and it's just great to be here. I plan to run the marathon on Sunday myself. My wife is running the 8K tomorrow, so we intend to hopefully do pretty well here at the Yuengling Brewery. You got St. Patty's Day coming up. You've got a race, and we're here running. And I mean, what could be better? There's not much that could be better than that. We're able to run. You guys all running a half marathon. So well, whatever. Best of luck to you. It looks like the weather's going to be pretty good. Not bad for the marathon. Certainly not. Heat's not going to be a factor, but I think it's going to be a good day. So I mean, we're all winners. The fact that we're here, we're still running, and we're enjoying ourselves doing it. Just a little bit about myself and why I'm here. My name is Joe Muldowney. I've been running a race since about 1976. I've run over 500 road races, and 52 of those have been marathons. So, and 16 of those 52 marathons, 16 of them have been Boston marathons, which is by far my favorite race. Way back in 1983, since that'll be 30 years now, I ran a 2:22 marathon at the Boston Marathon, and that, of course, is my fastest time. But those days are in the rearview mirror now. What I did was a couple of years ago, throughout my running career, I kind of like to tell stories. People have said, "Hey, why don't you write a book?" So I did, and that's kind of what I've been doing, going around to different races and promoting my book and talking about it and giving hopefully inspirational talks like I hope to give you here in a couple minutes today. This is my book. It's called Running Shorts, and I am quite proud of it. I took the title, obviously, from wearing shorts, but I also took the title from the fact that I put in a lot of short stories about running, and a lot of things that you all experience when you're out there running, getting chased by dogs, irate drivers, people asking you, why you still run, and all that kind of thing. And so I kept the stories kind of short, easy to read, and I've also put some advice in there without getting a little too preachy, because I think, as you'll hear from my talk today, a lot of things are kind of, what works for you is what works the best. And I can give you some pointers, but if it's something that's been working for you for a year or 2 years or 5 years or 20 years, keep doing it. So, as I said, I don't get too preachy in this book, but I'm very proud of it. As I said, my stories are your stories, and you can probably tell me some of the same stories, or maybe top some of my stories. But anyhow, we'll have them for sale afterwards here at $12. I'll be happy to sign a copy for you. And as I said, you won't be disappointed. It's a pretty darn good book. Of course, I'll buy it. So, just a little bit about my resume, just very briefly. I really love this sport. I love getting out there running every day. I love being involved in the sport in any way. I coach cross country at our local Penn State campus. We have 12 branch campuses in Penn State in Pennsylvania. I coach at one of them, our local Penn State campus. I write a monthly column for our newspaper. It's called the Republican Herald in Pottsville. And I'm also a PIAA, Pennsylvania Interscholastic Athletic Association official to officiate track meets. I do that as well. For our discussion today, as I said, my personal best marathon time is far behind me, but I guess what I'm even more proud of is that 2 years ago now, a little more than 2 years ago, down at the Philadelphia Marathon, up at the Philadelphia Marathon, I guess from here, I ran a 2:58, and I was very happy with that at age 57. Now I'm 59, and I'm hoping that elusive 3-hour barrier will fall, maybe on Sunday, but if not, hopefully a month from now at Boston. One of my favorite quotes is a quote from that great philosopher Groucho Marx. And Groucho Marx once said, "Growing old is something that you do if you're getting really lucky." And so we've all been, lucky enough to be able to say that. And I think that as runners, we can do a lot of different things with this aging process that maybe a lot of other folks cannot do. And that is that we've successfully eluded it. And it's still not easy, but I think we've eluded the aging process a bit. Right now, the latest study that I've read, just a mere 15 minutes of exercise a day can increase your life by about 3 years, which is I think that's okay. And also, of course, the quality of life. One of the things that I think we tend to see and tend to look at is that, we go places, we go to a class reunion, we go to the mall, we go somewhere, and we look at people our age and we think about, gee, look how old they look. And that's probably because I think what we're doing is a little bit more than what a lot of other people are doing. So I think that's probably maybe a perception on our part, but I think it's also probably true. Another thing about us is that we sort of look forward to birthdays. Because in our little realm, in the little world in which we exist, some of those age group or some of those birthdays that end in 5s are good because you go into another age group, and those birthdays that end in 0 are usually really good because it propels you into that next age category. So it's not a bad thing. We don't look at birthdays the way others do. And then I would be remiss if I didn't say and didn't talk about the great feeling that we have when we do pass that that young kid who's maybe 40 years old or 30 years old or 25 years old, and it's really a good feeling. As a matter of fact, with some of the age groups, if you notice from local races, the higher age groups are way more competitive than 20, 25, 25 to 29. So I think that's a testimony to us old folks doing something right. Just about this time last year, a little bit more than a year ago, I was doing a seminar at the Myrtle Beach Marathon, and I ran the half marathon the next day, and I was running a pretty good race. I was very happy with my race. I wanted to break an hour 30, and I was right on that pace. And as we turned around at around the 6.5 mile mark, there was a gentleman who was slightly ahead of me, and he looked to be around my age. As we said, we think that everybody's younger than we are. I couldn't catch him. He ran the race in 1:26 something. I was unable to catch him. And as I came in, I said to my wife, I said, I think that gentleman was probably in my age group. Being kind as she is, she said to me, well, he may have been in the 60 and over age group. Well, that's all right. He's in the 60 and over. That's okay. He's not in my age group. I think I still won. To my chagrin, as we checked the results later on, he was not in the 60 and over age group. He was in the 70 and over age group, and he had run a 1:26 and some odd change half marathon. So again, the stories out there are tremendous. I had a great thrill up at the Wineglass Half Marathon in New York this year. When I ran my personal best at Boston, 2:22:54, it's a story that I have in my book. Because I have an entire chapter in my book devoted to Boston, because I think it's the greatest race on the planet. There's nothing that even comes close to the Boston Marathon. As I turned the final corner at the Boston Marathon in 1983, there was wild cheering going on. I thought, gee, I can't believe that they're all cheering for me. Well, I was right. They were not cheering for me. That was the day that Joan Benoit set the world record for the marathon. She wound up being 9 seconds in front of me. In 1983, I thought there's no way a woman can actually run that fast, but she did. This year at the Wineglass Half Marathon up in New York State, she did it to me again. This time we were running together. She now is 55 years old. She wound up running a 1:26:35, and I wound up running 1:28 something. So she beat me again. But it was a great thrill. It was a great thrill for me just to talk to Joan Benoit Samuelson, because she's something. Right. Right. She is so gracious. She's a very gracious woman. Oh no, my goodness, no, this is a great story. It was a thrill of my life just to be able to meet her and talk to her and to be, and as again, one of the cool things that we do, on the run, and I'm meeting one of these legends of running, and I'm talking to her as we're clipping along. One more interesting fact: a guy by the name of Ed Whitlock. Maybe some of you have heard of Ed. Ed ran last year's Toronto Marathon now. 3 hours, 30 minutes, and 16 seconds, and he is 81 years old. So, the success stories are out there. A couple of statistical things that I need to tell you about. First of all, running for a lifetime will not ruin your knees. I talk about that in my book as well. Oh, you're going to ruin your knees. I've probably heard that 1,000 times in my life. Overweight, out of shape people are putting a lot more stress on their knees every single minute of every single day of their life than you are. So that's just statistically just not true. They're carrying around a lot more baggage than you are. Running increases your clarity. It's a natural relaxant. It's also a natural laxative, as most of us know. You really don't have to worry about that kind of stuff when you're running frequently. Simply put, as I said, it not only increases your life running, it also increases the quality of your life, and I don't think any of us can argue with that. I've been running competitively for about 36 years. Last time I calculated my mileage, which I basically do every year on New Year's Eve, while other people, not to say I don't drink my share of Yuengling on New Year's Eve, because I do, but I also sit down and calculate my mileage. I'm up to about 120,000 now, which I think is probably more than most cars that I've owned in my life. And I can tell you that 90% of the days I go out there, I enjoy it. I don't enjoy the 33-degree, rainy days any more than you do, or the 90 by 90 humidity days. But I'll tell you what, I really enjoy 90% of the time I get out there. So, what I'm here to talk to you about, I've developed my, I guess they do it at AA, but I do it here to my 12-step program. This is a 12-step program, and you don't have to get up and give any testimony or anything. 12-step program that I think will help you, and maybe, again, will give you some pointers on how to keep your longevity going as you're running, and to keep running well and running quality races, as you were talking about. First of all, the first and foremost thing, if you don't enjoy it, don't do it. Obviously, you're here, you enjoy it, so do it. I read a great, on a plane trip a few weeks ago, I read a great James Patterson quote. And they asked him if he was going to retire from riding, and he said, you retire from work, you don't retire from play. So therefore, I don't have any plans on retiring from this sport. I don't think you do as well. We just get out there and enjoy it. I told you I coach for a local Penn State campus, and I was very fortunate to have 3 of my girls that I coach go to the USCA National Championships up in Lake Placid, New York this year. The morning they were running, I went out for my run around a place called Mirror Lake at Lake Placid. It was 9 degrees outside. I mean, the temperature was cold, but it was still, and I was running, I ran 5 miles. I go out, the lake is to my right. I mean, it's just pristine, it's shimmering. I look back, I see the mountains in the background, and I'm just thinking, it just simply doesn't get any better than this. It was just absolutely magnificent. It was Norman Rockwell. It was like a moving Norman Rockwell scene. The exhilaration of running in the first snowfalls. Now, believe me, we're from northeastern Pennsylvania, so I don't want to see any more snowfalls this year, but we may. But just to get out there, our first one in December, and to be the first footsteps in the snow, to be the first footsteps in the sand, that's very exhilarating. To be out there on that secluded beach,
to go out there and do, you know, your urban runs and do your rural runs. I mean, today, running along that boardwalk and looking out the Atlantic Ocean was a thrill. Most places we go, Washington, D.C., Boston, Charleston, South Carolina, I mean, when we're going out looking for a place to eat, I usually scout it out when I'm out doing my run in the morning. I ran the Philly Marathon in November, and, you know, I'm out running past the Liberty Bell and Independence Hall. Enjoy it. Get out there and enjoy it. Enjoy all the stages that are out there, because believe me, we're not going to live long enough to run on all the stages that we have out there. So you know, wherever you go, whether it's a big city or whether it's, you know, running through the woods up by where I live and you see deer and turkey and pheasants and all kinds of stuff, do it. Enjoy getting out there. That's my rule number one. Rule number two is youth. Y-O-U-T-H, youth. As we get older, as we run when we're older, some of our friends have dropped off. A lot of people might have been in it for a year, 5 years, 10 years, or 20, but they've dropped off. You're going to reach a point where if you train with people like I do, you're going to wind up training with younger people. That's a lot of fun. Embrace it. It's such a social sport, and it's always been a social sport for me. I just love getting out there. I have never embraced the loneliness of the long distance runner. I like getting out there with other people, and you know, when you're out there and when you're running with other people, you know, sometimes we'll go out, we'll have people, almost every age division represented, from people in their teens to people in their 60s. And you know, it's such a democracy. I mean, it's just like everybody out there, you know, we're all worried about that dog in the corner chasing us. We're all worried about that next hill that's coming up. That's the kinds of things we're concerned about, or that guy who just almost sideswiped us with his mirror when he went by, and, you know, the people yelling and shaking their fist at him and things like that. So, I mean, that's the kind of thing that you need to do when you're out there running with people who are younger than you are, and the wisdom that you can impart on them. I have a colleague that I'm a school teacher. I have a colleague that I teach with. She's in her 30s, and I guess one of the first cooler days in November, she wasn't sure about, she was out there running and she was having some nasal problems, you know, the kind of stuff that's dripping out of your nose. So I had to impart some of the old runner wisdom on her, and I had to tell her how to snurch. In case you're not familiar with it, it kind of goes like that. So, I mean, you know, you can't, those are things that you have to impart the knowledge on the young kids. So, I mean, it's fun. It's just, you know, get out there and run. It doesn't matter how old or how young the person is, rather. Embrace youth, and that's very important. And as long as I'm on the topic of embracing, rule number 3 is accept and embrace. Again, not a whole lot of people actually like getting older, but like I said, let's embrace the good things about it. Embrace going to that next age group. And you know, this time next year I'm going to be 60. And I mean, there is no possible way, unless I have a debilitating injury, that I'm not going to train harder this year than I trained last year when I was 58. Because I want to try to win as many age group races as I can next year. So there's also, you know, some race directors in our area, they're having age-graded races, and that's pretty cool because you can, you know, you get kind of credits for being older. So, you know, you can finish digitally 25th in the race and still wind up winning it. So that's a lot of fun. Look for stuff like that, and just like I said, embrace the fact that this really isn't that bad, and the fact that, you know, you are defeating a lot of people that are way younger than you are. Rule number 4, and this is really easy to do today: go bizarre. Try it. Try some of these things that are out there. Try the mud run. Try an ultra marathon. Try one of those color runs. Dress up in one of those Halloween runs or something like that. Maybe they'll even have a St. Patty's Day beer run somewhere. Do it. Why not? I mean, you've probably been around. You've probably run a lot of races, a lot of just conventional races. So go out and be a little bit bizarre. Try something different, and you'll like it. You'll enjoy it. You know, again, who cares about your time? Just go out there and and have fun. We have up in my area. If you ever get on the internet, check out. It's called Pretzel City Sports. It's from Reading, Pennsylvania. This guy has a mailing list of over 100,000 runners. He has the most bizarre races that you could possibly imagine. He has the crazy trail runs. He has all kinds of crazy names like the Chili Cheeks Run, and last night, obviously I wasn't there for it because he came down here, but he had the hooligan hustle, and you end up at an Irish bar. But it's Pretzel City Sports. If you want to find a bizarre race, this guy runs these bizarre races. They're tremendous. Rule number five. Speed does not kill. It does not kill. And I don't care how old you are, how competitive, how non-competitive you are. Speed is all relative. You must get out and do speed workouts. You might not like them. They might hurt, but I'm telling you, you're going to feel better afterwards, and you're going to feel a lot better when you race, and you find out that, yeah, you're hurting as much as you did in the last race, but you're running a heck of a lot faster. So get out there and do a speed workout. I try to do a speed workout once a week. Try to do a speed workout at least once a month. Go to the local track. Measure out something. Everybody's got a GPS watch now. Measure something that you can do in an interval type thing. I like to do mile intervals. You do a mile at a fast pace. I usually try to do it somewhere around race pace. Jog or walk a half mile, then hit another one, then hit a third or a fourth. In marathon training, like now I did 4 of them 2 weeks ago, 4 by 1 mile. I'll do anywhere from 3 to 8 by 1 mile usually for me on the track. But wherever you do it, do that where you get that heart rate up real high, and you're going, like I said, close to, maybe even faster than race pace. It will really, really help. It's going to hurt, but it's going to help you for the next race. Rule number 6: go long. There is no better confidence builder. Now, I told you about running with people. Right now, I have nobody to train with for the marathon, and I'm really focusing on Boston next month. So I ran a 20-miler 2 weeks ago, and my race here on Sunday, I want to run 20 to 22 of it. Pretty hard, but for me, I just want to get that in as another good long training run for Boston. So you really need to do that 20-miler or 22-miler once in a while. I consider a long run anything over 12 miles. If you're going to run a half marathon, it builds confidence, it builds character, it builds capillaries. It's just really, really a good thing to do. And again, you may not like to do it, but again, the speed work's going to help obviously your leg speed. Long runs are going to help your endurance. You combine those two together, you're going to have some very successful races. Rule number 7: give it a rest. One of the things that we have to learn, one of the things that I had to learn as I get older and as you get older, is that you've got to rest. It's not so much now putting in lots and lots of miles. It's putting in smart miles, and that's one of the things that sometimes I don't practice what I preach in that regard. But really, when you feel nicked up, take a day off. If you run the marathon, if you're running the marathon on Sunday, take several days off. It's St. Patty's Day month. Take some days off and drink lots of beer, because you need to reward yourself. So I would highly recommend that. Some days you put in empty, meaningless miles. Maybe it's better to take a day off. Again, I did my 20-miler last Sunday. When I went home, my wife was working, but I went home the day after the 20-miler, and my dogs, they're evil dogs. They just begged me, "Daddy, let's go and take a nap." So I couldn't say no to them. So I had to go and take a nap. So it was, that was part of my reward for running a decent 20-miler the day before. So again, make sure that you rest. Oh, the other thing is this. I actually last week I planted my spring onions last week up in Pennsylvania, which may have been a mistake. But I tend to go out and I'll work for several hours in my garden. I'll be clearing brush. I'll be doing this, be doing that, and then the next day when I try to run, I'm hobbled over because my back's hurting. So, if you've got the company softball game tomorrow, well, hopefully not tomorrow, but if you have the company softball game next Sunday, probably you should take Monday off of running. Because one thing, as runners, we can do a lot with running, but sometimes when we try and do other things and combine them with running, it doesn't work out so well. Rule number 8, it's the 21st century, and I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving the 21st century. I'm loving the Garmin stuff, you know, having the pace watches, and heck, you know, I used to go out with my sweatsuit on and you know, my watch that I had to like, my dial watch that I had to try to figure out how many minutes I ran that day. So anything that's going to make your running easier. Oh, the new clothing is so good. The high tech, you know, the shoeless shoes that they have. I bought myself a couple of years ago on a site online. I bought a stim, one of those electric stim machines. Throw on my back when it gets sore. You know, put up the juice, the electrical juice, and put that on there. I got an ultrasound machine. I got them both for less than $100. When my knee bothers me, I do some ultrasound on that. You know, you just got to you got to embrace the technology. There's some great technology out there. You know, I had to run on the treadmill on yesterday, I guess it was, before we came down here, and then I had my iPod on there, and my little teeny iPod. And my wife got me this iPod for Christmas, and when I opened it up, you know, to show you how tech savvy I am, when I opened it up, I said, well, where's the iPod? That's the little chip that goes in there. No, the little chip was the actual iPod. So I'm not saying that I'm tech savvy, but what I'm saying to you is use these things because they're great. All the apps and things like that, it's just tremendous. Rule number 9. Eat food, not products. Again, grow stuff in your garden. Anything that has color, eat it. You know, American Cancer Society, 9 fruits and vegetables a day is a sound diet. And you get a lot of those fruits and vegetables. There's nothing better than that. Look, when people say about vegan and about, you know, vegetarian stuff, that's great. I think that's tremendous. It's not for me. For me, it's everything in moderation. Have a steak. You know, have a steak tonight if you want. Then have pasta tomorrow night. Don't have a steak 7 nights a week. You know, have a beer or two. Have a glass of wine. You know, probably not good to drink a half case. You know, every night of the week. But you know, my college coach used to say to us, you got to put fuel on the fire. So if you're burning a lot more calories than most normal human beings are, you got to eat. You know, don't starve yourself. Again, be moderate about what you eat. Don't eat ring dings all the time, but an occasional ring ding is not going to hurt you. Rule number 10: assemble your team. Your team is very important, and it becomes more important to us as we age. We are superhuman as far as if we compare ourselves to the many couch potatoes out there, but we're not invincible. And your team is a team of physicians and healthcare professionals that know you and know who you are. A friend of mine a few years ago had carpal tunnel surgery, and he used to run about 50, 70 miles a week. And they were all worried when he was on the table, and his pulse rate was like 42 beats a minute. They thought they were losing him, and he had to say, no, don't put me in the bag yet. I'm still okay. So, you know, your healthcare professionals have to know about you. My doctor is a 4-hour marathoner. My primary care physician is a 4-hour marathoner. My podiatrist, he cycles like a crazy man. Even my urologist is an avid tennis player. These people know about exercise. They know how fanatical, how crazy we are, and they treat you accordingly. They understand our mentality. Get yourself a good chiropractor. My chiropractor played in the 1978-79 Super Bowl. He played for the Denver Broncos. Tremendous. I'll tell you one very, very quick podiatrist story. 2001, I was out running. I felt this twinge at the top of my foot. Then it turned into a real bad pain. And the next day I woke up and my foot looked like a rubber foot. I broke the metatarsal in there. Don't even know how I did it. I was casted, and after he said about 6 to 8 weeks. After 4 weeks, I went in. He said, "This is healing beautifully. It's healing wonderfully." I said, "Oh, that's great. You're going to take the cast off." He said, "I'm not taking the cast off." He said, "Because I'll take that cast off and I'll tell you not to run, and you'll be out tomorrow running." And he's absolutely right. So I wouldn't have, and so he put the cast back on, and it helped it heal properly. But your physician needs to know you. Rule number 11: pump the iron. It's great what we do from the waist down, but I try to lift twice a week. I do only about a 20-minute lifting regimen. I am not going to enter any bodybuilding contests, as you can see, but you do some high reps, low weight, keep the upper body in shape. It's great. I try to do crunches every day, just to keep things in shape there as well. Finally, rule number 12. Rule number 12 of my 12-step program is there are no rules. There really are no rules in this sport. You've made it here. You're all racing on Sunday, and so you are obviously doing something right. If anything that I told you here today is going to be helpful, then I did my job and I'm happy for it. But the old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it philosophy, that's tremendous. So what you're doing, the things you're doing, if you're doing things that are working for you, that's the best.
Thank you all for coming, because, like I said, the worst thing I fear when I go to these events is that I'll be sitting here talking to myself, and my wife gets to listen to me enough, so I don't want to be here to listen to me anymore. My name is Joe Muldowney, and I am from Pottsville, Pennsylvania, and I actually do live 1 mile from the Yuengling Brewery, and I run by there all the time. This is a great event. I wrote my book about a year ago, and I've been going around to different races, and to see the over 9,000 people in the 8K this morning for kind of the pre-race the day before is absolutely remarkable. So the organization here is just incredible. I am very proud of, I was talking about the Yuengling Brewery, I'm really very proud to know the Yuengling family. I don't want to take up too much of the time that I want to talk to you about running, but when you support businesses, and the Yuengling family is the 6th generation. Dick Yuengling, whom I talk about in my book, he's the owner. He just turned 70 years old. He looks like he's about 50 years old. He was my Little League baseball coach. So I have a great affinity for them, but a great hard-working family. Dick Yuengling lives about 2 miles from the brewery. We meet, y'all might have your running group that you meet with. We meet usually at 4 o'clock at a place we call the Stump, which was the site of a former tree, hence the word stump. And so we meet there. Dick Yuengling every day comes home at around 2 o'clock. He stops at the brewery, gets into the brewery at about 5 a.m., comes home at 2 o'clock, takes a 2-hour nap. At 4 o'clock, when we usually meet to run, he heads back down to the brewery, and we kind of see him and wave to him, and then he's there until 7, 8 o'clock at night. So it's just a great story, and as runners, we're hard workers, and it's kind of neat to see a business that, is a group of hard-working people. A couple of things. First of all, in talking the topic of my speech today is personal best, and how you all achieve your personal best, and how you all probably achieved your personal best throughout your careers. What I have with me today are 2 things that I think are essential for anybody to achieve their personal best. One's kind of easy, one maybe is a little bit different. First of all, very essential, of course, are your shoes. We all know that. If you don't have a pair of shoes that is right for you, a pair of shoes that fits properly, and a pair of shoes that is suited, or a pair of shoes that is suited to your foot and the shape of your foot and your arch and all that kind of stuff, obviously you're not going to run your personal best. You're not going to do as well as you need to do. So again, I really advocate, again, we're talking about small businesses, I advocate, go to your local running store, because those folks probably are runners themselves and they really know what they're talking about. Get a good fit in your your running shoe and get the kind of running shoe that's good for you. You know, a brand doesn't really matter. It really doesn't. I mean, each brand of shoe, I run in Nikes. I have no personal affiliation with Nike, but you know, you just need the shoe. Your narrow foot, your wide foot, your high arch, your low arch, the way your foot strike, and every shoe company has a brand or a style, I guess, that fits your foot. But the second thing is this. This is your running log. Now your running log, in fact, one of the chapters of my book is entitled Running Log. This is, I have a desk at home in my living room, and underneath the desk there are running logs from, I'm almost ashamed to say, from 1976 to 2013. This one that I every time I give a speech, I pull a different one from the shelf. This is from 1987, and you see it's very no frills. This is from the Higgins Insurance Agency in my hometown. I shake somebody down every year to give me a free book, and so this is one of those date books. But your running log is so essential because it really is kind of a history of your running, and it really kind of, you know, you can go back and look at your running log and find out anything. You know, find out how you felt that day. If that was the day that you were chased by that dog and maybe you ran a little slower, a little faster because of that. If that was the day that you tweaked your hamstring a little bit. Even you can look back, and I can tell you that on Thursday, July 28th, 1987, it was 80 degrees and sunny, and I went to the track that day and I ran 3 by 1 mile, and I had my times down there and I ran 10 miles total that day. But it really can chronicle your running and make you kind of keep what works and throw out what doesn't work. And that's why I like, now, you know, today, with all our high-tech stuff, you know, everybody has you might have your phone, or you might have your app or something on, you know, something on your computer or on your watch itself that tells you all the things. That's fine, but I don't know. For me, I just like writing things down, and I just remember things better when I write things down. A little bit about myself. Why I guess maybe I kind of qualify to stand here in front of you and give you some of my advice. As I said, I started this in 1976 when I graduated from college, and I've been road racing ever since. Tomorrow will be my 53rd marathon, and I guess probably, I don't know, I lost count, 500 to 600 road races total in my career. Of those, 52, soon to be 53 marathons, hopefully tomorrow. 16, this will be my 16th appearance at Boston this year, which I think is the greatest race in the world. I was very fortunate there 30 years ago to run my fastest time ever of 2:22:54, which my great story there is that I was, as I turned the last corner and I heard the crowd wildly cheering, I thought, wow, this is really something, you know, for a guy, you know, I certainly wasn't up to the very front, but I was proud of what I was doing. Actually, they were cheering for Joan Benoit, who at the time was setting the world record for the women, and she was 9 seconds, she was 9 seconds in front of me. I tallied up also in my running book, while other people now, I do sit at home often on New Year's Eve because my wife and I think that New Year's Eve is kind of amateur night, so we kind of sit at home, and I do consume copious amounts of Yuengling beer on that evening. But what I also do at the end of my running log, I kind of tally my mileage for that year for each month, and then once in a while I just tally everything up. So on my last count, I'm over 120,000 miles, which I've had several cars, but I haven't put that much on. So I guess I'm still going. And so what I did was in late 2011, I did finally get to publish my book, which, you know, you always say maybe I should write a book about this topic or that topic. So since there's not a whole lot in the world that I really know about, but I guess I do know about running, I figured I'd write a book about it. So my book, Running Shorts, is really, it's kind of short stories and a lot of things all of you have experienced. Being chased by dogs, irate drivers. I have one of my chapters is called "Why Do They Hate Us So Much?" That's basically about, you know, people who are behind the wheels of their vehicles and why they hate us. And you know, some of those remarks that we get from people about how skinny we look, and as if not being skinny is kind of a badge of honor. So a lot of those stories and a lot of advice. I always say my little hook about the book is that the stories will make you laugh and cry, and the advice will make you better. So I hope that works out. If you buy my book, which we have on sale over here, and also whether you buy my book or whether you don't buy my book, I have a list of things on there with all this social media stuff. Stay in touch. I'd like to find out how you did your race tomorrow, and stay in touch with me by any form of media you would like. All right, so your personal best. How do you go faster? How do you stay in this thing for a long time? Here's a couple of things that I've come up with. Number one, a lot of people, and today there's so much information out there, a lot of people simply overthink this sport. Don't overthink it. Right before I started today, a gentleman came up to me and he was wearing sandals, and he said, I get a blister underneath my arch here, and I'm running the half tomorrow, and I'm just not sure what to do. I bought these real high-tech pair of socks. And he's going on and on and on, and I kind of wanted to be kind, and I let him finish up. I said, sir, listen. I said, it's not that complicated. Go to the store, spend $1, spend $2, buy just the cheapest, buy the Walmart Vaseline, and just get that Walmart Vaseline, stick your fingers in there, get a thick gob of it, and just gob that on your foot tomorrow. Then pull your sock over top, and I guarantee you, it's going to feel kind of slimy when you put it on there, but I am going to guarantee you're not going to get a blister. And put it between your toes, put it on the end of your toes, put it on your heel. Use half of that jar of Vaseline if they have to. Don't overthink this sport. You don't have to buy the $150 pair of shoes. You don't have to buy the $75 pair of socks. Don't overthink it. It's as simple as putting one foot in front of the other and going as fast as you can for as long as you can. So we have a lot of great innovations out there, and I love all of them. I love the 21st century. I love all the new stuff we have. I love listening to my iPod when I run. But seriously, don't overthink it, because it just kind of bogs things up, and just do the simple stuff, and I think you'll be okay. Secondly, when you go out there tomorrow, the great thing about our sport is this. It is you versus the clock. That's all there is to it. And it is your the topic of my speech today, and probably the subject of my next book that I'm giving you right now, personal best. It is your personal best. And that can be, that line can be moved. That meter can be moved. My personal bests are behind me, I know that. But now I'm 59, I'm going to be 60 next year, and I'll tell you what, I'm going to try to achieve my personal best in that new age group. So, you might have to adjust that a little bit, or maybe you've been injured. Maybe you had to take 2-3 months off because you've been injured. So, adjust that a little bit. Maybe you're not going to run as fast as you ran a year ago. But, adjust it and do it by being optimistic yet realistic. Again, if you suffered a debilitating injury, you got to work your way back. So if you run faster this week than you did, the week after you were injured, that's one of the great things about this sport. And you're just running against yourself, and that's I think very, very important and very unique, I think, in our sport. Also remember that your progression, and I think a lot of younger runners get caught in this trap, or maybe not even younger runners, but new runners, at whatever point in your life you pick this up, the progression is not always linear. It's not always, I'm going to get faster. It's going to be, I'm going to get faster, I'm going to hit a peak, I'm going to hit a plateau rather. Maybe I'm going to hit a little valley in there, or so it's not just one of these that you're constantly going up the mountain. It's kind of it goes in different intervals, I guess you could say. So don't get discouraged if your progression is not going the way you wanted it to go. It's not always, as I said, it's not always going up the mountain. The other thing is this, and my other speech is running well into your 50s and 60s, but I think this goes across the board, any age group. You keep it fun. Just keep this whole thing fun. And there's a lot of ways to do it these days. I run a fun race. You got these color runs out there, you got the mud runs, you got these ultras, you know, dress up on Halloween. You know, we're all running the half of the marathon tomorrow, but other people might be running, you know, pub crawl type things where you go and you slug a beer and you go to the next pub, something like that. I do something like that, keep it fun. It doesn't always have to be that, you know, you gotta be so intense. I'm going out, I have to run my best 5K time. You don't always have to do that. Just go out and do something that's fun in racing and do something that's really fun in your training. I come from an area where a mile from my home I can be on a trail. Actually, right behind my home I can be on a trail. And I might have a turkey run across in front of me, and I see deer all the time. I mean, do those trail runs, not only because they're fun, but because, remember, the whole surface thing. And the whole surface thing is, you know, dirt and gravel is the best, blacktop is next to the best, cement, stay the heck off it. And cement is devastating to everything from your foot to your lower back. So, I mean, that's the progression. But do that. And also, I say, you know, go rural and go urban. I mean, back in November, I ran the Philadelphia Marathon, and, you know, I ran past the Liberty Bell and Independence Hall. You know, I got goosebumps down my back. I mean, it's just really fun when you go to a big city to experience the big city, not, you know, driving around in a car, but when you're running. So, I mean, just keep this whole thing fun, and if you do that, you're going to be in it for the long haul, and I think that's what we all want to do. Also, you know, your goals, whatever your goal may be. Was your goal to lose 10 pounds? If you did that, man, reward yourself. You've done a great thing. Was your goal to beat Susie, that person who always beats you and brags about it, and you finally kicked her butt in your race last week? That's awesome. I mean, you know, reward yourself for that. Do that. I mean, yeah, it is, you know, you are running against the clock, and it is, you know, running, you know, it's a whole personal thing, but it is. For training in the wind, I usually say, you know, when it's a windy day, do your first half of the race, of your training run into the wind, and then get at your back on the way back. We're not going to have that luxury. No, there's not really a whole lot. I mean, I'm just going to wear you know, like an Under Armour lighter shirt underneath my singlet, I think, to stay warm. And I always my hands always get cold, so I always wear gloves. So, and I mean, you know, pick up a pair of cheap ones, and if you want to throw them out if it gets warmer, you can do that. But I'm a big fan of gloves. But yeah, winter's gonna be easy. I'll probably go long sleeve tomorrow. Yeah, if it's 45 or below, I'll go long sleeve. If not, I'll wear like a short sleeve underneath my singlet. Thank you very much. Come up, buy a book, talk to me, whatever. Thank you. Thank you all for coming out today. Thank you very much, and good luck to all of you. My goal is to run 1:30 for the half marathon. I wound up running high 1:10. So as a gentleman I saw at the halfway point, he turns around. I ran a loop halfway around Mirror Lake and back. But I mean, there's the lake to my right, it's shimmering. I look up in the background, there's the mountains. I mean, it was like a moving Norman Rockwell scene. Those days are really cool. Those days are all ahead of you, whether you're running on the beach, whether you're running in the mountains, whether you're running in the city, or wherever. Yeah, yesterday running along the beach there, seeing the Atlantic Ocean, it was just great. So I think just again embrace that, and I think that's very, very important. So. Again, my book is a collection of my stories, but I always say they're your stories that I just kind of put on paper from my perspective. And as I said, keep this log because I think it, like your running life, is a work in progress, and it's just kind of like, you know, the artist that never really finishes the painting, and you know, we all don't want to finish that painting for a long, long time. So keep it going. Keep that mosaic of your running life going. Like I said, it's a work in progress, and it's crafted by the highs and the lows of your running career. And turn in the killer workout, and, you know, reward yourself. Pizza, glass of wine, glass of beer, a couple glasses of beer, whatever. Come back from an injury with a vengeance. smash yesterday's bad workout or last month's poor race with a stellar one and a breakout race. So be sure that each running step you take, both good and bad, becomes meaningful to you in some way and becomes a learning experience to you in some way. And that's what it's all about. We learn, we craft this sport as we go along. And I think if you do that, and if you write it down and you refer back to it, then I think each day can be the personal best. So I thank you for listening to me now, and I'd love to open it up to questions. And please, I will stay here as long afterwards, sign some books for you, sell some books to you. I'd love to do that, obviously. But I would love to answer some questions. So does anybody have any questions? Please do, because I love the questions. I'll try to answer them as best I can. Yeah. Oh, the title of my book is Running Shorts, a collection of stories, advice for anyone who has ever laced up a pair of running shoes. And it's kind of a chronicle of my life as a runner like this. Questions? Sir, go ahead. All right. Good question. All right. Best race was 1983 Boston. It was almost like a dream. The weather was absolutely perfect. 50 degrees, calm, no sun. It was a perfect day to run a marathon because, again, remember, the perfect day to run a marathon is a day that's really bad for the spectators, is a day that's really good for you. We are. As I said, I and many of you have gotten to line up in races with Olympic champions. Now, I guarantee you we're not going to play tennis with Wimbledon champions, or we're not going to be on the golf course with Tiger Woods and playing in the same tournament. But we can do this in the sport of running, and I think that's really cool. I mean, the fact that we can line up with people that are the greatest runners in the world, and most of them that I've had contact with, and probably you as well, they're really cool. I mean, they'll talk to you and they'll pass on advice to you. They're not aloof or aloof in any way. So I think that's pretty cool. So. The other thing I'd like to say is this, and to all of you, because I know that many of you, most of you, have very busy schedules. And I'm going to say this to many of the women out there because, let's face it, guys, they do really work harder than we do. So we take advantage of that too many other times, I think. But make your running time your running time, no matter what.